Not so long ago, we accepted that a race-bred carbon-plated super shoe was going to be extremely uncomfortable for anything but racing. Like a Formula One race car, they were unbelievably light, incredibly fast, and completely impractical for anything but their very specific purpose. Puma has done away with that idea by introducing a super light, incredibly high performance race shoe that quite honestly is just as comfortable to wear to the shops. Let's chat about the Deviate Nitro Elite 4. So one of my absolute favorite race shoes over the last few years has been the Deviate Nitro Elite 3 from Puma. It's not as bouncy and unstable as another favorite, the Metaspeed Sky, which I have chosen for particular race events when I've been feeling really confident about my training block and I know that my form is going to be fine throughout each race. It's also not as mental and crazy and absolutely mad as the Mizuno Wave Rebellion Pro 3, which quite honestly I'd probably never choose for an actual race, but I often go to when I'm going out for a fast run and I just kind of want to remember how much fun running can be. I'll actually link to the Rebellion Pro 3 review in my description below, where there's some really nice footage from a river run in Kyoto. But instead, the Deviate Nitro 3 has been the race shoe that does the lot. It's light, fast, stable, and really good to run in any fast condition. So I already had a really good relationship with this shoe, and when the new version released, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, I was a little bit pensive when it came to making the purchase. Why? Because Puma had made a big thing of losing 12% weight in this shoe, and I assumed that came with some sort of sacrifice. But now, having tested the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s, I can confirm that it is better in every way. And the market seems to agree. They're already impossible to get hold of. And in this video, I would like to explain why. Also, just so you know, over the next few weeks, I am going to be doing several comparison videos between this shoe and other super shoes. So please do like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out. And feel free to comment below if there is a particular shoe you want me to put this one up against. So I'd usually start with the stats, but this time I'm going to start with the experience of receiving the shoes and putting them on. Because I think, like everyone, when I get a pair of shoes delivered, I quickly open the box, pop them on, and I walk around the house. When it's a pair of racing shoes, they typically feel as if they are not made for walking around the house. And that is because they're not. But the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s buck that trend. They're actually so comfortable and so stable that you could wander down to the shops in them and they'd feel completely normal. You could put on a pair of jeans and wear them to the movies. You could go out with your friends wearing these shoes. That is how comfortable and normal they feel. That comfort is a real superpower of the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s, and that is what I'd like to talk about in this video. But first, let's get through those facts and stats really quickly. This shoe is built on a 40mm midsole at the back, dropping 8mm to 32mm at the front. There is a carbon plate running through the middle of the midsole, fairly flat this time rather than the dippy sort of a carbon plate that we had in version 3. This time, it is a flatter carbon plate. The Nitrofoam Elite in the midsole is in 2 layers above and below the carbon plate. The top layer is slightly softer and more springy, and the bottom layer is firmer. That combination creates a very comfortable soft step-in feel, as well as propulsive running rebound where your foot sinks lightly into the top layer of the softer foam, but not too far, and it then rebounds very quickly from above the carbon plate, as the bottom layer of foam, as well as the carbon plate, provide the rigidity and the spring that we expect from a race shoe. It is a seriously effective mix, and it's only boosted by the incredibly light weight of this race shoe. And in terms of weight, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 is up there with the best. On my dodgy kitchen scales, The ASICS Metaspeed Sky comes up as 163 grams. The Deviate Nitro Elite 3s, the last model, weigh 183 grams, and the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s equaled the Metaspeed Skies at 163 grams, with each shoe that I measured being the right foot shoe in my size US 9.5. That weight saving, 20 grams compared to the Deviate Nitro Elite 3s, comes from various areas. One is the outsole. Here is the 4 and here is the 3. The outsole on the 4 is much thinner and smoother, with no tread as there is on the 3. On wet roads and footpaths, it is actually noticeably less sticky than the class-leading perfection that we've come to expect from Puma Grip. It's not terrible, it still performs really well, and you're not going to slip and slide all over the place. It's just not as good as the very best that Puma has produced in the past. And actually, I'd argue that that extreme level of grip is not as important in a pure race shoe as it is in, say, a daily trainer. The bigger issue, though, is that there is no Puma grip on the inside of the heel of the Deviate Nitro Elite 4. You see on the 3, there's grip on both sides. On the 4, there is only grip on the one side. It's not going to be a problem for me because I am a midsole to forefoot striker and my heels never touch the ground, but if yours do, this might be something you want to check out. Now let's move to the upper, which is another place that weight's been saved. The upper is slightly softer and more pliable than the version 3 of this shoe. It's not plush and stretchy like a recovery day shoe. It is very, very thin, and it has no stretch at all. It's made to provide brilliant race-style lockdown against this wonderful foam, but at the same time, it is still perfectly comfortable and incredibly breathable. Moving to the heel cup, there is just enough padding, which I know I say about almost every shoe that I test these days. Most brands are getting this right now. And similarly, the tongue, which is thinner than last year's version, has just enough padding and is also very, very comfortable. Interestingly, one big change is that in version 3, it actually had 2 loops within the tongue for the laces to go through to hold the tongue in place. Now in the version 4, we've moved to just 1 tongue loop for the laces to go through, which I'm not going to say it's brilliant. When you first put these shoes on, it does take a little while to get the tongue in the right position and to tie it down. But once you have tied it down, it stays in place and it doesn't cause any trouble at all. One of the biggest differences between the two shoes is the laces, where we have gone from what was quite a thick plush lace to a very thin, very light sawtooth lace. Both worked really effectively. Both did their job, but one is significantly lighter and much more racy. Thankfully, there is a good amount of room in the toe box for my relatively wide feet. And actually, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 has a slightly different shaped toe box to the 3. The 3 ends in a pointier sort of toe box, which at the end has this Puma grip curling up around the front of the toe. The Deviate Nitro Elite 4 has a rounder toe box without that rubber coming up the front, and instead just the ultra weave going around the toe, which is softer and a bit more forgiving and just gives you a little bit more wriggle room, particularly for people like me with broader feet. So what does all of this translate to on the road? First of all, there's no carbon-plated pop as we've come to expect from shoes like the ASICS Metaspeed Sky. Instead, the quality of the foam creates an incredibly fast, stable, and natural feeling run. And this is an important point, that natural feeling run. It does not force you to run in a particular way to make the most out of the shoe. No matter how you land, whether it's on your heel, midfoot, or forefoot, the shoe will give back. And what that means is that when you're wearing the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s, you don't need to worry about how your form might change throughout a run or throughout an event. You don't need to adjust your gait for the shoes that are on your feet. They will accommodate you no matter how you're running and how your feet are landing. And once again, that matters a lot, particularly, and I think, during the late stages of a half marathon, the last 2 or 3 kilometers of a half marathon, or the last 5 or 6 kilometers of a full marathon, when you know that it is highly unlikely that you're going to carry the same form that you carried earlier in the race. You want to know that the shoes on your feet are going to take care of you, that you don't have to hold a particular type of form to get through the final bits of the race. And that's where I stress the fact that the natural feeling run of this shoe, the fact that no matter how you run, it will perform for you, is actually quite groundbreaking when it comes to a race shoe. And that does make them really well suited for the concept of a marathon where you know that your form is going to change throughout the run. The Deviate Nitro Elite 4 feels like a race shoe that is made to wear all day long. The closest I can think of in terms of comfort is the Asics Metaspeed Edge Tokyo. But still, the Edge Tokyo is a lot less stable than the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 4. And don't get me wrong, this is not as stable as a big wide pair of daily trainers, but it is not far off. And so there it is, the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 4, a Formula One car that you can happily drive to the grocery store. I think that this shoe's nature, from a shoe that you can wear to a fast 5 kilometer park run and also to a fast marathon attempt, makes this one of the best, if not the best, racing shoes on the market. I can absolutely understand why these are so popular and why they are already sold out. They are that rare shoe that equally suits the elite racer as it suits the person who is seeking their first pair of carbon-plated racing shoes. And that, I think, is an incredible achievement. So well done, Puma. And look, I know I've said it before and I know I will say it again, but wow, what a time to be a runner with shoes like this around. So speaking of shoes like this, Benny and I buy all of our own shoes for this channel, so you can help us for free by clicking that like and subscribe button below. It also means that you won't miss out on future reviews. And as I said earlier, if you would like me to compare this shoe to any other specific race shoes in videos coming up over the next few weeks, please do comment below, tell me what you think, and feel free to share your comments about this shoe as well if you've already run in it. I'd love to learn from you what you think of this shoe. Until next time, run well. We'll see you next week.